As a city manager, I have a lot of responsibilities. One of those is to make sure that our community can be best prepared to respond to any natural disaster or disaster that may affect our community. That's a tall order, but we do that in the context of the National Incident Management System, the Emergency Management Framework, the Incident Command System. These are systems that are put into place, and you see them every day on TV, unfortunately. We use these systems to manage interjurisdictionally between local government, state government, and federal government, so we can all come together to respond to significant incidents of emergency nature or disaster that affect us. Now, the system also is divided up into really 4 major phases, one of which is mitigation, preparedness is the second one, response, and then recovery. The more we spend our time and effort on mitigation and preparedness, the less we will be redefined by a disaster that's out of our control. In fact, the more time we spend in those early phases, the more we define our future together. So I'm here to share with you a little bit about how we do that so that I can earn your trust and confidence as my community or someone who else may be watching this, so that they can see how their community works with this system in these 2 early phases or these 2 initial phases, and gain their confidence, but also share with you as a resident, as a business owner, so that you can help us, you can be part of the team in using these steps and this awareness to help our community be more resilient, so that we can recover faster, so that we can keep our momentum, so that we can recover and stay on a trajectory of success and not be defined by the bad things that can happen to us. So let's just talk about that a little bit. I want to share with you a little bit about mitigation and what that means. It's really 2 things. First of all, it's hazard identification. We spend a lot of time, kind of in a warped way, sitting in rooms thinking about what are all the bad things that can happen to the community. That can sometimes be a dark place, but the reality of it is we need to spend our time doing that. Now that breaks down into natural disasters, man-made disasters, and I would add to that technological disaster and economic disaster. And you see some of that in the video that I just showed you, right? Some of that speaks for itself. Natural disasters are pretty self-explanatory, and especially here in the Midwest, where if you don't like the weather, you just wait around 20 minutes because it's going to change, and the likelihood it's going to probably be severe at times. So we have weather. If you live in certain parts of the globe, you might be affected by things like volcanoes or earthquakes or things like that. I would also suggest that as part of our hazard identification in natural disasters, pandemics are the kind of things, because a virus works through our environment, it works through and it's transported obviously through humans, by humans and with animals and the like. We have man-made disasters, so we also have to think about that. We have to sometimes think about the unthinkable. Disasters like transportation accidents, we can have infrastructure failure, building collapses. We can have the dark things like terrorist attack or active shooter. These are things that we have to think about and we have to plan for. We also have technological disasters. We have things like cyber attack. We have a major threat that continues to evolve because why? Our lives rely on technology, and technology is attacked. As a small city of just less than 50,000 people and 400 employees, I can tell you we had 500,000 attempts just this last year on our own information technology systems. We were able to thwart those attempts. However, some of those were successful, and luckily only in a minor way. All of this can translate into economic impact, be it microeconomy or macroeconomy, right? We can have effects on us because of all those disasters that happen. We think about the global and national pandemic that we're in now and the economic impact of that. So certainly it has its impact on us economically. In our microeconomies, we might lose a major business that we rely on for our income, for our source of employment. So these are things that we must really protect against, and we have to find ways to mitigate against. So then the next phase of what we do after we spend time thinking about what those hazards could be and those things that could affect us, we spend time working on mitigation. And mitigation can take a lot of different forms. You can bring up my slide. Something as simple as a snowplow. Now, a lot of the students in this audience probably don't like that we have the snowplows, and maybe they have to go to school as a result. But of course, that's not my fault anymore, right? Because you're all learning to go to school remotely, so you can't blame me when you get to go to school or have to still go to school on a snow day. But simple forms of mitigation include things like a snowplow. It's just a truck with a blade, but it takes a skilled driver, and it takes snow and ice prohibitive type of material to help mitigate the effects of snow. Sometimes here in the Midwest, we just have snows that are pretty normal, and we have significant snows like blizzards. We also diversify our fleet so that we have some that are running on diesel, some running on propane. Sure, we're doing that for sustainability reasons, but in reality, we're also doing that so that we have redundancy in our systems, so that we can respond even if we have supply shortages and things like that. Think about that as a business person. Think about that as a member of an organization. Think about that as a member of a family. You know, what are those things that can be disruptive to you as a result of some sort of hazard, and how might you mitigate it? It could be something as simple as these things. A little bit more complex. As a city, we build out a fiber optic system. Now, cities don't typically do this sort of thing, but we built one out among all of our city facilities so that we could be more resilient, more protective against the effects of these kinds of disasters that could happen to us. It hardened our communication systems. 100% of this system is built underground. That certainly helps us to be more resilient and more and adaptive in a lot of ways. And here's a great example of that, I think. How many companies, and you got to be honest, because I'm going to be, keep your servers in the broom closet in the basement? Well, I happen to know there's a lot of you, whether you want to admit it or not, and I'll tell you why in a second, but guilty. We kept our servers in City Hall in the basement in a broom closet for a lot of years. But what we figured out is that, we could put those on the fiber optic system, and we can transport that to the local data center. And this data center is hardened. It's a hardened facility. It has a fire suppression. It has the right HVAC. It sits on duplicative electricity circuits. It has power backup. It has all those things to make it survive a bad situation. Well, we also leverage this into economic development for the sake of attracting, retaining, and expanding companies in Dublin, because we can put our companies onto the backbone of fiber optic, and we can help you get your servers that I know are out there in broom closets into this data center. And I know that because we've been doing it, and it's been very effective. You know, the other things we do is we plan. We do a lot of planning. That's called preparedness. So we identify those hazards that can happen to us. We try to mitigate those through identifying the types of things that we can do. We may not always minimize those. We may not always eliminate them. I can guarantee you we will not eliminate them. So what we have to do is plan ahead and have emergency operations plans. We spend a lot of time and effort, and that's your challenge that I have for you, is do you spend the time and the effort and have the discipline to really plan and think about the bad things that can happen, try to figure out how to mitigate those, and then prepare for those through a planning process and through exercising and training for the response should that bad thing happen. We do that with emergency operations plans. We do a lot of planning. Now, you may not believe me when I tell you this, but it's a fact. We had a pandemic plan. Who would have thought? That pandemic plan wasn't written a week before this current pandemic happened. In fact, it was written 12 years ago. It was written at a time when we were seeing a surge in viruses like the bird flu, SARS. We were seeing Ebola happen, and we needed to protect ourselves, thinking that these things may come to our shores. Now, we did have a plan. Was that plan 100% effective? No, it was not. But I can tell you it was about 75% of the solution. Because when you go into chaos in a situation like an emergency, you don't want to be figuring out how you're going to respond. So you have to think ahead. That was a great example of how we thought ahead. As the fog of war, some people call it, or the chaos started to unfold, like you heard on the video talked about We had all these great plans. We were going to do these parades. We were going to celebrate the opening of our new bridge. We shut it down. And we did that because we had a plan in place that we could use to leverage and help us through the thinking process. We have emergency operations centers. It's kind of look like this. We have mobile command posts. But during this pandemic, like many of you, we learned to use this. I bet you're kind of tired of using this. However, what I will tell you is this will probably become our new emergency operations center, and the old style hardened one that I just showed you the picture of will become the backup. Why? This is more agile, it's more efficient, it's more flexible, and more people can get on it more quickly as long as we have connectivity, as long as our power grid's protected, as long as our broadband grid is protected. We can leverage these things. So the best of plans don't always survive the first incident, and we all know that. However, we try to work these plans in a lot of different ways, because as we work through these plans and we think through these, it also identifies our weaknesses and our shortcomings. We also take a look at how these plans, in identifying those shortages and weaknesses, identify those resources that we might need. So we start adding supply, looking at our logistics, working in relationship with other partners, trying to identify who can we bring in to help us in a time of need. That's that national system that I talked about. We spend a lot of time doing that sort of thing because, as they say, you don't want to be exchanging business cards with your partner at the scene of an incident, right? You want to be changing business cards beforehand and getting to know who your partner is going to be. This is an example of our firefighters training on a downed aircraft. You probably think that, well, it doesn't happen very often. In fact, it doesn't. That's the reason they need to train on it. However, in our jurisdiction, we're near an airport, and we have had this incident happen to us in our jurisdiction. Just not something that happens very often. Our police department trains on a lot of different kind of incidents that can occur to them. Active shooter, tactical entry, all of these kinds of things. When do they bring their partners in to help them through the process? So we actively work these things on a consistent and a constant basis to make sure that we're ready to respond to these kind of things when they happen. People don't often think about this, but I tell you what, while parades and festivals and things like that are a lot of fun, they can also be absolute chaos. So we also spend our effort in planning and preparing and running parades and other festivals and the like. I'll show you in a minute. And we leverage our incident command system, our emergency management system, every time we do one of these events. 20,000 people along a parade route is a big challenge, logistically, security-wise. We leverage our partnerships from other jurisdictions for resources that we don't have to help us prepare and to conduct these fun events. We have the second largest Irish festival in the country and the largest Irish festival in a 2.5-day period, attracting about 100,000 participants in a very short period of time. A lot of fun, a lot of chaos, but we use emergency management as a way to practice and to carry through that event. Also a PGA tournament in our city where we leverage the same kind of tools and resources to carry off that event. These are things that happen, I hope, to all of you behind the curtain. And you might say to yourself, well, gee, I'm not, why this emergency management thing, Dana? Why do you really want to parade this out? Well, I really want to parade this out because I need your help. And it's important that you, as an individual, as a business, as a family member, a member of an organization, know how these things work, know how to leverage these tools. We often do tabletop exercises because we have to plan for those things that we don't normally deal with. We are constantly churning new individuals in our organization and they need to become aware and participate in our operations plans and procedures so they understand how all that works and what their role is, because their role will change from their normal duties that they perform every day to something different in a time of a disaster or an emergency. We are employing technology. We're always looking at new technology, new ways to better respond. You'll see a lot of first responders using drone technology now. We use cameras and sensor devices, blockchain. A lot of these technologies that are evolving, we're leveraging those to best prepare us to respond. So look, at the end of the day, this is simply what I'm trying to achieve and the point that I want to get across, is that as long as we're working together, and I want to assure you that your community is working this every day to prepare for and respond to any disaster that may approach us. Will we be successful every time? Probably not. But together as a community and with your help, we can do this very well, and we can endure the storm. It's not always rainbows and unicorns at the end of the storm or at the end of the challenge or the disaster. But the more we prepare, the more we mitigate, the better we can respond, and the more likely we're going to be able to keep our community on a positive, successful trajectory into the future. So maybe we can realize the rainbow. The one thing that I do want to make sure that I emphasize here is that it's been my experience that in many years of responding to disasters, and in my time with the National Guard, where I responded to many things in my 35 years of service, as well as a city manager, one thing I can promise you, and that is the community comes together. Communities come together in times of stress, times of disaster, and help each other. And we were fortunate to see that in our town during the pandemic. So let's not let these situations define us. Let's not let them dictate what our future is going to be. I need your help. Let's work together so that we can define ourselves, so that we can control our future and our future success. I hope this was a little bit helpful tonight, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.